Captain Jake Morrison checked the morning reports on his tablet while drinking his coffee. Kepler station had been quiet for 3 weeks now. The mining operation was running smooth, and the alien workers seemed happy enough with their jobs. Jake liked it this way. Boring was good when you were managing a space station on the edge of nowhere. Lieutenant Amy Walsh walked into the command center, her boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. She was young for a security chief, but Jake trusted her. Amy had good instincts and kept the peace between the different species working on the station. "Morning report looks clean," Amy said, settling into her chair. "The Velkans finished their night shift without any problems. The Krillians are getting ready for their morning duties." Jake nodded. The Velkans looked like giant bugs but worked harder than anyone else. The Krillians reminded him of walking lizards, but they were smart engineers. Both species had been working with humans for about 5 years now. Most of the time, everyone got along fine. Zixthara clicked into the room on her 6 legs. The Velkan, trade representative, always started work early. Her large compound eyes reflected the light from the screens around the command center. "Good morning, Captain Morrison," she said in her buzzing voice. "The mineral yields from Sector 7 are very good. My people are pleased with the results." "That's great news," Jake replied. He had learned not to smile too wide around Velkans. They thought it meant humans were angry or ready to fight. Commander Vorth entered next. The big Krillian had to duck under the doorway. His scales were dark green today, which meant he was relaxed. Jake had learned to read the color changes in Krillian scales over the years. "Captain," Vorth said with a slight bow, "my engineers report all systems running at full capacity. The fusion reactor is stable." Jake was about to respond when the alarm started blaring. Red lights flashed throughout the command center. Amy's fingers flew over her control panel. "Multiple ships approaching fast," Amy called out. "They're not responding to communication requests. No identification signals." Jake moved to the main display screen. 5 dark ships were racing toward the station. They looked rough and poorly maintained. "Pirates. Battle stations," Jake ordered. His voice stayed calm and even. "Get all civilian workers to the safe zones." Zixthara's wings buzzed with fear. "Are we under attack? What should we do?" Commander Vorth's scales shifted to bright yellow, showing his alarm. "Should we prepare for evacuation? Do we call for help?" Jake looked at Amy. She met his eyes and nodded once. No words passed between them, but they understood each other perfectly. Jake had served in the war against the hegemony. Amy had fought pirates before joining the station's security team. They both knew what came next. "Zixthara, get your people to safe room 3, Jake said quietly. "Vorth, take your engineers to safe room 1. Stay there until we give the all clear." The pirate ships opened fire on the station's outer defenses. The whole structure shook as energy blasts hit the shields. Jake could hear explosions in the distance. "They're trying to disable our weapons," Amy reported. Her voice had become flat and emotionless. "Looks like they want to board us." Jake nodded. He walked to a wall panel and entered his security code. A hidden compartment opened, revealing military-grade weapons. Amy did the same at another panel. Within seconds, both humans were armed and ready. Zixthara stared at them with her compound eyes. "You have military weapons on a mining station?" "Standard security measures," Jake replied. His voice had changed. All the warmth and friendliness was gone. He sounded like a machine giving a report. Commander Vorth noticed the change too. "Captain, are you well? You sound different." Jake and Amy exchanged another look. Neither spoke, but they both moved toward the exit. Their faces showed no emotion at all. No fear, no anger, no excitement, nothing. The pirates managed to break through the outer hull. Jake could hear their voices echoing through the station corridors. They were shouting threats and demands, trying to scare the people inside. "Where are the humans?" one pirate yelled. "We know you're here. Come out and maybe we won't hurt the aliens." Jake and Amy moved through the corridors like shadows. They used hand signals to communicate. Amy pointed to her left. Jake nodded and went right. They separated without making a sound. Zixthara and Commander Vorth had reached the safe room, but they could see everything through the security cameras. They watched the humans move through the station. "Why are they so quiet?" Zixthera whispered. "Shouldn't they be calling for backup? Making plans?" Fourth stared at the screens. "I have seen many battles. Warriors usually shout war cries. They curse their enemies. They show emotion. But the humans..." He paused. "They show nothing." On the screen, Amy appeared behind 3 pirates. She moved like a hunter stalking prey. The pirates never saw her coming. Within seconds, all 3 were down. Amy's face never changed expression. She looked bored. Jake found 2 more pirates trying to break into the reactor room. He disabled them both without making a sound. When they fell, he simply stepped over their bodies and continued moving. The remaining pirates began to panic. They had expected resistance, but not like this. Most species they attacked would scream, curse, or at least make noise. The humans gave them nothing. No words, no emotions, no indication they even cared about the fight. "This is wrong," one pirate transmitted to his ship. "Something's wrong with these humans. They don't act like normal people." Within 20 minutes, it was over. Jake and Amy had neutralized all the pirates without speaking a single word. They moved through the station checking for stragglers, their faces still showing no emotion. When they returned to the command center, Zixthera was shaking. Commander Vorth's scales had turned pale gray, a color that meant deep fear. "Is it over?" Zixthera asked in a small voice. Jake's expression suddenly changed back to normal. The warmth returned to his eyes. He smiled gently at the frightened Falcon. "All clear," he said in his usual friendly tone. "Sorry about the excitement. Are you both okay?" But Zixthera and Commander Vorth just stared at him. The Jake Morrison who had just fought the pirates was gone. The friendly station captain was back. It was like watching 2 completely different people in the same body. Vorth would later struggle to write his report about what he had witnessed. How could he explain that the humans had become something else during the fight? Something cold and empty and terrifying? The pirates' ship fled as soon as they realized their boarding party was gone. They spread word throughout the criminal networks about the human station, where death came silently, without warning, without mercy. But Jake Morrison just went back to drinking his coffee and reading reports as if nothing unusual had happened at all. Commander Vorth sat in his quarters aboard the council ship, staring at a blank report screen. 3 weeks had passed since the attack on Kepler station, but he still could not find the right words. How do you describe something that made no sense? His clawed fingers hovered over the keyboard. Every time he tried to write what he had seen, it sounded crazy. The other council members would think he was making stories or losing his mind. A soft chime indicated someone at his door. "Enter," Vorth called out. Admiral Rex Stone walked in. The human was tall and gray-haired, with kind eyes that reminded Vorth of his grandfather. Rex had been a friend for many years, but now Vorth felt nervous around him. "Having trouble with your report?" Rex asked, sitting down in the chair across from Vorth's desk. Vorth's scales shifted to dark blue, showing his confusion. "Rex, what happened at that station?" "Your people, they changed. They became something else." Rex nodded slowly. "I know it looked strange to you. Most aliens react the same way when they first see humans in combat. But why do you become so quiet, so empty?" Vorth asked. "In all my years as a warrior, I have never seen anything like it. When my people fight, we roar. We show our strength. When Velkans fight, they buzz and click to coordinate attacks, but humans..." He paused. "Humans just stop being human." Rex leaned back in his chair. "We don't stop being human, Vorth. We become more human. What you saw is something we call getting in the zone." "The zone?" "It's hard to explain to non-humans," Rex said. "When we face real danger, our minds can shut down all the noise. All the fear, anger, and confusion just goes away. We focus only on what needs to be done." Vorth remembered watching the security cameras. Jake Morrison and Amy Walsh had moved through the station like machines. No wasted motion, no hesitation, no emotion at all. But it was terrifying, Vorth admitted. I have fought in 12 major battles. I have seen hegemony shock troops and raider death squads. Nothing scared me like watching those two humans work. Rex's expression grew serious. Can I ask you something, Vorth? When you fight, what drives you? Pride, Vorth answered immediately. Honor. The need to protect my people. Anger at my enemies. And when Velkans fight? Fear, mostly. They fight because they are afraid of being hurt or killed. Rex nodded. Most species fight with emotion. Love, hate, fear, anger. These emotions make you predictable. We can understand what you will do next because we understand what you feel. Vorth's scales turned pale yellow. And humans? When we go quiet, we fight with pure logic. No emotion to cloud our judgment. No anger to make us careless. No fear to make us hesitate, Rex paused. We become perfectly efficient at ending threats. Dr. Lisa Park entered the room carrying a data pad. She was a small human woman with dark hair and gentle eyes. Vorth had met her several times during diplomatic functions. Sorry to interrupt, she said. I heard you were having trouble with your report, Commander. Dr. Park studies how different species think, Rex explained. She might be able to help you understand what you saw. Lisa sat down and looked at Vorth with professional interest. You witnessed humans entering what we call a dissociative state during combat. It's an evolutionary survival mechanism. I do not understand these words, Vorth said. On our homeworld, humans were prey animals for a long time, Lisa explained. In simple terms. Big predators hunted us. We learned to survive by becoming very good at running, hiding, and when necessary, fighting back. But many species were prey, Vorth pointed out. True, but humans developed something unique. When faced with life or death situations, we can temporarily shut off our emotional responses. This allows us to think clearly and act without hesitation. Vorth remembered the pirates' panic when they realized the humans were not responding to their threats or taunts. The pirates expected fear or anger. They got nothing. Exactly, Lisa said. Psychological warfare works on most species because most species cannot separate emotion from decision-making. Humans can. But it is not natural, Vorth protested. Beings should feel something when they fight. Joy, fear, rage, something. Rex and Lisa exchanged a look. To us it feels completely natural, Rex said. We don't lose our humanity. We just put it aside until the danger passes. Vorth thought about this. He remembered how quickly Jake Morrison had returned to his normal friendly self after the fight. Like flipping a switch. I have been having bad dreams, Vorth admitted quietly. I keep seeing Captain Morrison's face during the fight. So empty. So cold. It was like looking at death itself. Lisa leaned forward with concern. You're experiencing what humans call trauma, seeing something that conflicts with your understanding of how thinking beings should behave. Will other council members believe my report? Vorth asked. Some will, Rex said. Others have seen humans in combat before, but many will think you are exaggerating. There have been other incidents, Lisa added. Human military units going silent during battles and achieving impossible victories. Human pilots who stop responding to radio calls but complete perfect tactical maneuvers. Human soldiers who become mute during rescue operations but save everyone. Vorth's scales shifted through several colors as he processed this information. How many humans can do this? All of us, Rex said simply. Every human has this ability. Some are better at it than others, but we all have it. Even you? Vorth asked. Even Dr. Park? Lisa smiled sadly. I served as a medic in the war. When wounded soldiers were dying around me, I learned to shut off. Everything except the need to save lives. No fear, no sadness, just medical procedures. Vorth stared at her. This gentle woman who studied alien psychology had the same terrifying ability he had witnessed at Kepler Station. We are not monsters, Rex said, seeing Vorth's expression. We do not enjoy violence, but when violence is necessary, we become very good at it. That is what scares me, Forth said. You do not enjoy it, but you do not hate it either. You feel nothing about it at all. The room fell silent. Finally, Lisa spoke. Commander, in your report, please explain that this is not aggression. It is not cruelty. It is simply how humans survive impossible situations. We become quiet because noise is wasteful. We show no emotion because emotion is dangerous. We do what must be done, nothing more. Vorth looked at his blank screen again. Now he knew what to write, but he was not sure the council would understand. How do you explain that the most terrifying thing about humans in combat was not their violence, but their complete lack of feeling about that violence? I will write the truth, he said finally, even if no one believes it. Rex stood up to leave. Thank you, old friend. I hope this does not change our friendship. Vorth watched the human admiral walk away. Rex Stone was the same person he had always been. Kind, wise, honorable. But now Vorth knew that somewhere inside that gentle man was something else. Something cold and quiet and perfectly deadly. The thought would haunt his dreams for months to come. The human colony of Proxima Reach looked peaceful from space. Small farming settlements dotted the green valleys, and mining operations worked the mountain ranges. 50,000 humans called this world home, along with their families. Overlord Kethavar studied the planet from his command ship. The hegemony fleet surrounded Proxima Reach like a metal cage. 40 warships against one small colony. This would be easy. Send the surrender demand, Kethavar ordered his communications officer. The hegemony had conquered dozens of worlds this way. Most colonies gave up without a fight when they saw the size of the attacking fleet. On the planet's surface, Colonel Ben Hayes read the message in his command bunker. The hegemony wanted the humans to evacuate within 24 hours. Any who stayed would be considered enemy combatants. What's our response, sir? Asked his aide, Lieutenant Tom Brady. Ben looked at the tactical display showing enemy ship positions. Send a single-word reply. No. In orbit, Captain Maria Santos commanded the human defense ship Courage. Her ship was old and lightly armed compared to the hegemony vessels, but it was all they had. Captain, we're getting surrender demands from the enemy fleet, her communications officer reported. Acknowledged, Maria said calmly. Cut all external communications. Switch to internal emergency protocols only. The communications officer looked confused. Ma'am, shouldn't we coordinate with the other human settlements or try to negotiate? Maria's expression grew flat and emotionless. No talking. Execute Plan 7. Down on the planet, Private Nick Cooper was barely 19 years old. He had joined the Colonial Defense Force 6 months ago, mostly because it paid well. Now he crouched in a foxhole with 5 other soldiers, watching enemy dropships descend from the sky. This is it, guys, said Sergeant Joe Martin. Remember, you're training. Nick expected Sergeant Martin to give an inspiring speech or shout battle cries. Instead, the older man simply raised his hand and made a series of quick gestures. The other soldiers nodded and spread out into defensive positions. Nobody spoke. Nick felt confused and scared. Shouldn't they be talking about tactics, making plans, calling for help? The silence felt wrong. In space, Overlord Kethavar watched, his tactical displays with growing satisfaction. The human defense ship had gone quiet. The planet's communication networks had shut down. The Colonial Defense Forces were not responding to hails. They've given up already, his tactical officer reported. No communications, no coordination, their morale must have collapsed. Excellent, Kethavar said. Begin the landing operations. This will be over by nightfall. But something strange started happening. The human ship Courage began moving in ways that made no sense. Instead of running or fighting directly, it drifted through the hegemony fleet like a ghost. Captain Maria Santos made no announcements, sent no warnings, gave no threats. She simply began destroying enemy ships. The first hegemony vessel exploded without any warning. Then a second. The humans were not engaging in honorable combat or following standard space battle procedures. They were hunting. Where are their communication signals? Kethavar demanded. Why aren't they coordinating their attacks? His communications. Officer checked his instruments. Sir, they're not using communications at all. No radio, no data bursts, nothing. On the planet, the hegemony ground forces faced the same mystery. Human defenders appeared and disappeared like shadows. They set traps, conducted ambushes, and sabotaged equipment, all without making a sound. Private Nick Cooper watched Sergeant Martin move through the forest. The older soldier used only hand signals to direct their squad. When they encountered enemy patrols, Martin would point to specific soldiers and make gestures. Each human would nod and move to assigned positions. The attacks came without warning. No battle cries, no challenges, no demands for surrender. The humans simply eliminated threats and moved on. This is unnatural, one hegemony soldier radioed to his commander. They don't fight like normal people. They don't even act like they're in a battle. Nick began to understand. The other human soldiers had changed during the fighting. Their faces showed no fear, no anger, no excitement. They looked bored, like they were doing routine maintenance work instead of fighting for their lives. But it worked. The human defenders were outnumbered 20-1, but they were winning. In space, Captain Maria Santos piloted her ship through the enemy fleet with impossible precision. She made no dramatic maneuvers or flashy attacks. Instead, she found weak points in enemy formations and exploited them methodically. The hegemony crews began to panic. They were used to enemies who shouted threats, demanded terms, or at least acknowledged their presence. The humans gave them nothing. No response to hails, no reaction to taunts, no indication they even cared about the battle's outcome. They're like machines, one hegemony captain transmitted. Cold, calculating machines. Overlord Kethavar watched his fleet fall apart. Ships were exploding. Ground forces were retreating. And his carefully planned invasion was becoming a disaster. All because the humans refused to act like normal thinking beings. Sir, should we withdraw? His tactical officer asked nervously. Not yet, Kethavar snarled. They're just trying to intimidate us with this silent treatment. All species break eventually. But the humans did not break. As the battle continued, they became even more efficient. Colonel Hayes coordinated planetary defense without saying a word. His officers passed orders through hand signals and prearranged codes. Every human seemed to know exactly what to do without being told. Private Nick Cooper found himself moving and fighting like the veteran soldiers around him. The fear and confusion he had felt earlier were gone, replaced by cold focus. He knew where to aim, when to move, how to work with his squad. It felt like someone else was controlling his body. The transformation frightened him, but it also made him incredibly effective. By sunset, half the hegemony fleet was destroyed or damaged. Their ground forces were trapped in small pockets, cut off from supplies and reinforcements. The invasion had failed completely. Withdraw immediately, Kethavar finally ordered. All ships, return to hyperspace. As the enemy fleet retreated, the humans of Proxima Reach began to return to normal. Conversations resumed, people smiled and joked, families reunited with relief and joy. Captain Maria Santos opened communications with the planet. Proxima Control. This is courage. All enemy forces have withdrawn. We are secure. Her voice was warm and friendly again. Nothing like the cold silence during battle. Private Nick Cooper sat in his foxhole, shaking slightly. The other soldiers were talking and laughing now, sharing stories about the fight. But Nick remembered how they had been during combat. Empty, focused, terrifying. You okay, kid? Sergeant Martin asked, sitting down beside him. Sarge, what happened? To us out there? We all changed. Martin nodded thoughtfully. Yeah, we did. That's what humans do when everything depends on winning. We put aside everything that doesn't matter and focus on what does. It was scary, Nick admitted. Good, Martin said. It should be scary. The day it stops being scary is the day we become something we shouldn't be. News of the victory spread quickly through both human and alien networks. The hegemony, one of the galaxy's most feared military forces, had been defeated by a small colony that never even tried to negotiate or ask for help. But the strangest part of the story was always the same. The humans had won by becoming completely silent, turning themselves into something their enemies could not understand or predict. Word began to spread among pirate crews, criminal organizations, and hostile alien governments. There was something wrong with humans during combat, something that made them more dangerous than any weapon or warship. The humans themselves just went back to farming, mining, and raising their families, as if nothing unusual had happened at all. The Great Hall on Concordia Prime had never seen such a crowded emergency session. Representatives from 47 different species filled the curved seating areas. The topic of discussion was simple but terrifying. What to do about humans in combat. Ambassador Kate Robinson sat in the human section, trying to look calm while dozens of alien eyes stared at her. She had been a diplomat for 15 years, but this was the strangest meeting she had ever attended. Counselor Vythranas floated in the center of the hall. The ancient cerebral looked like a jellyfish made of light, with long tentacles that glowed different colors when he spoke. His species could read minds, which made him the perfect mediator for galactic disputes. "We are here to discuss recent reports about human combat behavior," Vythranas announced. His voice echoed directly in everyone's minds. "Several species have requested restrictions on human military involvement." A Velkan representative buzzed loudly from her seat. "Humans become empty during fights. No thoughts, no feelings. It is not natural." "Agreed," rumbled a granite skin from the heavy world section. "My people have fought beside humans twice. Both times we did not recognize them during battle. They became something else." Ambassador Robinson stood up. "With respect, counselors, I think there may be some misunderstanding about human psychology." "Please, explain," Vythranas said, his tentacles shifting to gentle blue. Kate took a deep breath. "Humans have a natural ability to focus completely on critical tasks. We call it compartmentalization. During dangerous situations, we can set aside emotions that might interfere with survival." Acrylian counselor's scales turned bright red with anger. "You speak of survival, but we speak of something else. Humans in combat show no mercy, no honor, no recognition of their enemies as living beings." "That is not true," Kate protested. "We follow all galactic warfare conventions. We take prisoners when possible. We provide medical aid to wounded enemies. But you do these things without feeling," said a Depth Dweller representative. "You follow rules like machines, not because you care about right and wrong." General Quinn Foster stood up from the human military section. He was a big man with gray hair and quiet eyes. "May I address the council?" Vythranas nodded. "General Foster, you have commanded human forces in several galactic conflicts. Please share your perspective." Quinn walked to the center of the hall. "Counselors, I have served with many species over the years. Each has their own way of handling combat stress. Krillians roar to build courage. Velkans buzz to coordinate with their hive minds. Granite skins sing battle songs to honor their ancestors. And humans?" asked a small crystalline being. "Humans, go quiet," Quinn said simply. "We shut down everything that does not help us complete the mission. Fear, anger, sadness, even joy. These emotions can cause mistakes that get people killed." Counselor Vythranas moved closer to Quinn. His tentacles shifted to deep purple, showing concentration. "General, I am reading your surface thoughts. You have killed many beings in combat, but you feel no guilt or pleasure from these actions." "That is correct," Quinn replied. "How is this possible?" demanded the Krillian counselor. "All thinking. Beings must feel something about taking life." Quinn was quiet for a moment. "We feel everything, counselor, but we feel it later, when the danger is over. During combat, those feelings would make us less effective at protecting innocent people." A Velkan in the back row stood up. "I was at Kepler Station during the pirate attack. I watched human security officers eliminate threats with perfect efficiency. They showed no anger toward the pirates, no satisfaction in victory, no relief when it was over." "Because the job was not finished yet," Quinn explained. "Until we confirmed all threats were eliminated and all civilians were safe, there was no time for emotions." But that is exactly what frightens us, said the Depth Dweller. You treat combat like a job, like fixing a machine or cleaning a room. There is no soul in it. Ambassador Robinson spoke up again. Counselors, would you prefer that humans become emotional during combat? Would you feel safer if we fought with rage or fear? At least then we would understand you, the Krillian replied. Rage and fear are natural. What you do is not. Doctor, Linda Hayes entered the hall carrying a datapad. She was a human xenopsychologist who had studied alien behavior for 20 years. Counselors, may I present some research findings? Please proceed, Dr. Hayes, Vythranas said. Linda activated a holographic display. I have studied combat behavior across 63 species. Everyone shows increased emotional responses during battle. Heart rates rise, stress hormones flood, their systems and decision-making becomes impaired. As it should be, said a granite skin. Battle is not a normal activity. It should affect the mind and body. But humans are different, Linda continued. During combat, our heart rates actually decrease. Stress hormones drop to normal levels. Our brains enter a state of hyper-focus that improves decision-making. This is what we fear, said the Velkin. You become more effective at killing when you should become less effective. We become more effective at everything, Linda corrected. Saving lives, protecting civilians, ending conflicts quickly to minimize casualties. Counselor Vythranas floated higher above the assembly. Dr. Hayes, in your professional opinion, are humans emotionally deficient? No, Counselor, we are emotionally efficient. We experience the same range of feelings as other species, but we can control when and how we experience them. Control, repeated the Krillian counselor. This is the problem. Beings should not have such control over their basic nature. A new voice spoke from the observation gallery. But we do not control our nature. We are following it. Everyone turned to see Admiral Rex Stone standing in the doorway. The elderly human had a kind face and gentle manner that made him popular with many alien species. Admiral Stone, Vythranas acknowledged. You were not scheduled to address this session. I apologize, Counselor, but I felt my input might be valuable. Rex walked to the center of the hall. I have been thinking about this issue since the reports from Kepler Station. And what have you concluded? Asked the Depth Dweller. That we are asking the wrong question, Rex said. The question is not whether humans are dangerous in combat. The question is whether we are dangerous to our allies. The hall fell silent. Rex continued. Humans have fought alongside galactic forces for 30 years. In that time, has any human unit ever turned on its allies? Have we ever harmed civilians we were protecting? Have we ever violated surrender terms or ignored rules of engagement? No, admitted the Krillian counselor. Human forces have exemplary records in these areas. Then what exactly are we afraid of? Rex asked. That humans are too good at protecting the innocent, too effective at ending conflicts, too reliable in following orders. Ambassador Robinson stood up again. Counselors, I understand that human combat behavior seems strange to you, but strange does not mean wrong. Different does not mean dangerous. What do you propose? Vythranas asked. Let us prove ourselves, Kate said. Create whatever oversight you think is necessary. Monitor human forces as closely as you wish, but judge us by our actions, not by how we look while performing them. The debate continued for hours. Species argued about the nature of consciousness, the role of emotion in moral decision-making, and the dangers of allowing humans to serve in galactic military operations. Finally, Counselor Vythranas called for a preliminary vote. All in favor of restrictions on human military service? 12 species voted yes. 23 voted no. 12 abstained. The motion fails, Vythranas announced. However, given the concerns raised, we will establish a new protocol for human military operations. Ambassador Robinson felt relieved, but also worried. What kind of protocol? That, Vythranas said, will be determined by a special committee. This session is adjourned. As the representatives filed out, Kate noticed that many of the alien Delegates were still staring at the humans with a mixture of fear and fascination. The debate had not changed their minds about human nature. If anything, it had made them more convinced that humans were fundamentally different from every other species in the galaxy, and that difference, Kate realized, was exactly what frightened them most. 6 months after the council debates, Director Sam Wright sat in his office reading intelligence reports. As head of Human Intelligence Services, he tracked how other species viewed humanity across the galaxy. What he was seeing surprised him. The Council had created Official Warning Protocol 2387 Theta. Every military unit, police force, and security organization in the galaxy had received the same message. When human military personnel cease verbal communication during combat operations, all allied forces should maintain maximum distance and avoid interference with human tactical objectives. Sam had expected this warning to hurt human relations with other species. Instead, something unexpected was happening. His assistant knocked on the door. "Sir, Captain Emma Blake is here for debriefing." "Send her in," Sam said. Captain Blake entered wearing her Special Forces uniform. She was small and quiet, the kind of person most people would ignore in a crowd. But Sam knew she was one of the most dangerous soldiers in human space. "How did the Torvin rescue mission go?" Sam asked. Emma sat down and smiled. "We never fired a shot, sir. The hostage takers surrendered the moment we went silent." "Explain." "The Syndicate had taken 50 civilian workers hostage on Torvin Station. They demanded ransom money and safe passage. When we arrived, they were confident and aggressive. They had good defensive positions and plenty of weapons." Sam leaned forward. "What changed their minds?" "My team and I switched to hand signals only. No radio chatter, no verbal communication. Within 10 minutes, the hostage takers were asking for terms of surrender." "They had heard about the protocol?" Emma nodded. "Word has spread through every criminal organization in the galaxy. They call it the silent death now. The moment humans stop talking during an operation, criminals start panicking." Sam pulled up a data file on his screen. "I have 17 similar reports from the last month. Human forces achieving objectives without violence simply by going quiet." "It is working too well," Emma said, looking concerned. "Some of my soldiers are starting to enjoy the fear they create. That worries me." "Why?" "Because the protocol was supposed to protect other species from misunderstanding our combat behavior. But we are turning it into a psychological weapon." Sam understood her concern. The warning that was meant to explain human nature was accidentally making humans seem more terrifying than before. Commander Tony Martinez walked into the office without knocking. As head of Naval Intelligence, he had clearance to interrupt any meeting. "Sam, we have a problem," Tony said. "The hegemony is planning another attack, but they are requesting specific terms." "What kind of terms?" "They want assurance that any peace negotiations will be conducted with humans who are actively speaking." Sam and Emma exchanged looks. "They are afraid to negotiate with quiet humans, apparently," Tony said. "They believe silent humans cannot be reasoned with or trusted to honor agreements." Emma shook her head. "This is getting out of control. We created a monster without meaning to." Sam's communication system chimed. "Priority message from Starfleet. Command," his computer announced. The holographic display showed Admiral Kate Robinson, who had been promoted after her performance at the council debates. "Director Wright," Kate said, "I need your assessment of the protocol's effects on human-alien relations." "Mixed results, Admiral," Sam replied. "Criminal organizations are surrendering to human forces without fighting, but legitimate governments are becoming afraid to interact with us during any kind of crisis. I have 3 species that have requested human peacekeepers be withdrawn from their territories," Kate continued. "They are worried about what might happen if those peacekeepers go quiet." Emma leaned into the camera view. "Admiral, this is Captain Blake. I just completed a hostage rescue where the criminals gave up because they were afraid of silent humans. But innocent civilians were also terrified of us." Kate's expression grew serious. "That confirms what I am hearing from other sources. The protocol is creating an unintended psychological warfare effect. Tony activated his datapad. I have been tracking communications intercepts from hostile groups. They are abandoning plans to attack human targets. Not because they cannot win, but because they are afraid of what humans become during combat. And legitimate species? Kate asked. They are requesting that humans be excluded from any situation that might involve conflict, Sam reported. 3 trade negotiations were canceled last week because human security teams made the alien delegates nervous. On his desk, Sam's private communication device started flashing. The caller identification showed archivist Zeftel from the Council Records Office. "Excuse me, Admiral," Sam said. "I need to take this call." The old crystalline being appeared, in holographic form. Zeftel looked like a walking diamond with light refracting through his body in complex patterns. "Director Wright," Zeftel said. "I'm updating the official records regarding Protocol 2387 Theta. I need human perspective on its implementation." "What do you need to know?" "The protocol has generated more reports and requests than any other council decision in 50 years. Most species are requesting clarification about when humans might go silent and what that means for ongoing operations." Emma spoke up. "Archivist, we go silent when we need to focus completely on a mission. It does not mean we become hostile or untrustworthy." "But other species perceive it differently," Zeftel replied. "I have requests from 26 governments asking for advance warning when human forces might enter what they call silent mode." Tony laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "They want us to announce when we are about to become effective?" "In essence, yes," the archivist said. "They find human tactical efficiency more disturbing than human aggression." Admiral Robinson rejoined the conversation. "Zeftel, what is the official council position on modifying the protocol?" "There is no consensus," the crystalline replied. "Some species want stronger restrictions on human military involvement. Others want humans excluded from diplomatic functions entirely. A few are requesting that humans be prohibited from going silent except in extreme emergencies." Sam felt frustrated. "So they want us to be less effective at protecting people?" "They want you to be predictable," Zeftel explained. "Silent humans make decisions that other species cannot anticipate or understand." Emma stood up suddenly. "This is backwards. We should not have to apologize for being good at our jobs." "But that is exactly the problem," Zeftel said. "You are too good. Other species feel inadequate and frightened when they work with humans who can shut off emotion and focus purely on objectives." Tony pulled up a galaxy-wide communication report. "I am seeing some interesting side effects. Pirate activity has dropped 30% in systems with human patrol ships, not because we are fighting more battles, but because criminals are avoiding those areas entirely. The reputation is becoming more powerful than the reality," Kate observed. Sam made a decision. "Zeftel, please add this to the official record. The warning was created to protect other species from misunderstanding human combat behavior, but it has accidentally taught the galaxy to fear human competence more than human aggression." "An interesting observation," the archivist said. "Is there anything else for the record?" Emma looked at the others, then spoke carefully. "Add this. When humans care about the outcome of a situation, we talk, argue, and show emotion. When we do not care about the enemy's survival, we become silent. The galaxy has learned to fear our indifference more than our anger." And, Tony added, "This fear is changing how the galaxy operates. Some species are solving their own problems rather than risk calling for human help and seeing us go quiet." Admiral Robinson nodded thoughtfully. "Maybe that is not entirely bad. Independence and self-reliance are valuable traits." Sam looked around the room at his colleagues. "The Council created a warning to explain our behavior. Instead, they created a legend. The silent death. Humans who become unstoppable when they stop talking. The question now," Kate said, "is whether we try to control this legend or let it grow." "I vote for control," Emma said. "Power without restraint corrupts, even psychological power." "Agreed," Tony said. "We need to remind everyone, including ourselves, that going silent is a tool, not a weapon." Zeftel's image flickered. I will record these concerns in the official files. Perhaps future council sessions will address the unintended consequences of Protocol 2387 Theta. After the call ended, the four humans sat in silence for a moment. The irony was not lost on them. "We are doing it again," Emma said finally. "Going quiet when we need to think." Sam smiled. "Some things never change, but maybe that is exactly what the galaxy needs to understand. We are not monsters or machines. We are just humans who get very focused when the situation demands it." "And now," Tony said, "the whole galaxy knows to stay out of our way when that happens." Outside Sam's office window, ships from a dozen different species passed by the space station, but none of them carried human passengers. Word had spread, too far and too effectively. The galaxy had learned to fear the sound of human silence, and in that fear humanity had found an unexpected kind of power.